Well, hello, this is Kelly, and I am the Mathematic Plumber, and welcome to the Practical Plumbing series, where I will haphazardly upload something when I do it. Today's episode is about installing dishwashers, which is about as much fun as installing a hot water tank. It's kind of like a short prison sentence. The audio for the majority of this video will come directly from my GoPro camera, therefore it is terrible. Now, before we get started, it's going to be wise to have the correct material. First of all, we need the dishwasher. Second of all, we need some sort of water supply. This is a 3/8 compression by 60-inch braided supply. And it does have a garden hose connector that matches this dishwasher here, which is a Bosch unit. We need to ensure that we have a shutoff valve, in this case, a 3/8 compression valve, by whatever pipe that you have in your house. I already have mine installed, so this is just for show. Now under the sink, you're gonna need a dishwasher Y, like this bad boy right here. It's a very simple Y connection that has a spigot on it that fits the dishwasher hose. That's the white-ish cream color thing coming off of here. If you're doing a dishwasher replacement, chances are you already have this. You may also have a carburetor off of one of your drain connections. The carburetor has a little spigot in it, which I'll highlight here in this picture. We can connect our dishwasher right to this, but you need to ensure you follow the manufacturer's instructions because there's a plastic knockout in there that needs to come out first. If you do not have a dishwasher Y in your drainage system here, and you do not have a carburetor, you will need to install one of these. Now you can put it along here across the horizontal between your two kitchen sink basins, or you can actually put it underneath here. The problem is, if you go any further away from here, we've got the P-trap here. This stops sewer gas from coming into the house. So if you put it over here, you now have a problem. We cannot do that. If you do not have any drainage or water for this whatsoever, now you're getting into a higher level situation and you'll have to follow code practices to pipe in your own P-trap somewhere else and properly vent it. You can look to my other videos to figure out how to do that and what that looks like. Now, before we go any further, we need to do two really important things. We got to shut the water off to the dishwasher, and we got to turn the power off to the dishwasher at the breaker. Let's go look underneath the sink here for our valve. If you already have an install, you're going to come across your valve like this one here. And there we go, that one's off. But for the power, I'm going to need to go downstairs and flip a breaker. Now I'm not going to show you that part, but what I'll do is I'll open up the dishwasher, turn the power on. I can see the display is all goofy, but I'm going to go shut the breaker off that is labeled to be the dishwasher, which might not be right, and see if that turns off. All right, I've just returned from flipping the breaker and there it is. Display is off. Our power is off to this unit. So now I'm going to remove this. Now in most cases, we have a couple screws holding these dishwashers in place. Sometimes they are on the sides, depending on the dishwasher, but for mine, they're just above. So I'm going to remove those two screws and we're going to start the process of yanking this sucker out of here. So these two screws are put in with Robertson. Sometimes there are other types, but I'm just going to remove them if I can see them. All right, those screws are out. Now I can shut this, get it out of the way. So now we need to remove the electrical cover down here. It's got a screw over there and a screw over on the other side. In this case, it's some sort of weird Robertson. Maybe. I believe we have two different screws here. So this has been screwed around with someone before. Pun fully intended, even though I hate them. So yeah, Robertson on one side, Phillips on the other. Go figure. All right, let's try to get this thing off of here. This is pretty fun. Have I ever mentioned that dishwashers are my favorite thing ever? There we go. All right, that covers off. Now under here, let's turn the camera a little. Under here is our electrical box. That is, I think, a Phillips screw. The truth is, I have poor eyesight. So we're just trying. That is, in fact, a Phillips. Hallelujah. And now we got our power. Now, the reason why I'm checking the power, even though I can't see a thing, sometimes people leave about 6 inches of power coming up through the floor so you can't do anything with it. The real good electricians leave you a whip there so you can pull the dishwasher right out. I don't know what I have here yet. And the truth is, I still can't tell. So I'm just going to take the power off right here because I know it's dead. This particular one is Phillips. So I've taken back 3 screws. One is for the black or hot leg. So this is going to be my hot leg. That's going to be my identified conductor, or some call it neutral. And that is my ground leg. So when I said it's time to pull this thing out, I meant almost. I still got a drain and a water line to disconnect. Let's start with the water line. So this is a braided supply, and that is a 3/8 compression. That takes a 5/8 wrench, and we're going to pull that off of there. The valve is still off. Now these braided supplies have a little rubber gasket inside them. They tend to get compressed and old after they've been installed. So I do not reuse my braided supplies. I just throw them out for the 25 or whatever bucks they cost. It is far more inexpensive than having a house flood. You're going to notice that some dingleberry put pipe dope and thread tape on this connection. That is a no-no. You do not use thread tape on something that has a rubber. That can actually make it leak. So I'm going to clean that off there off camera. The other thing I need to disconnect is this drain connection. This is a 5/16 gear clamp. Off it goes. And by the way, this dishwasher hose is not installed to code. It should have a loop going as high up as possible and then coming back down in. We'll make that correction on dishwasher number 2. Now the thing is, I've got a whole bunch of water trapped in there. So I'm actually going to pull a bowl out of my cupboard here. And let the water flow into there. I'm probably going to let it overflow because that's the way I do things. As you can see, the water's draining out. It's water! So what I'm going to do to pull this thing out is, first of all, I'm going to make sure I get some good slack on this. Get some good slack on the water. And I'm going to start just taking the dishwasher through. Give this a little bit of a spin and a little bit of an adjustment. So I'm just going to lift, pull, and probably curse my very existence because I hate dishwashers. There we go. So we do need to be careful of the floor. because things can mark it with these. It's not as bad as a stove. And also the floor is absolute garbage, so it doesn't really matter. So as I'm pulling out, I'm also making certain that the drain and water comes through. I'm not fighting it the whole way. So I just finished unpackaging this thing, and boy did I get to find some surprises. First of all, this is a power cord that plugs in, so I'm going to need to put in either an outlet or an extension cord end on the power down there. Second part is they've got this fancy water connector because they changed things again. Hence the reason why I love dishwashers. Now here are your instruction manuals. Typically, I take these and I throw them straight into the garbage can because that's where they belong. But because we got new parts here, I'm going to actually have to take a look at this and read through. And because the way dishwashers have been changing, I do recommend you do this because I've come across dishwashers where you need to bring the water line and drain through in a different location than you typically ever would. So make sure you just go through it once. So this right here is our water connection, and it's actually intended to be the whole whip. So for this one, I don't even need the braided supply. I just need to screw this into the tapping on the end here. And by looking down the end, you can't see it from here, but there most definitely is a gasket in there. So that means I don't need to be using any thread tape or anything. I just need to get her nice and tight. So I'm going to use Channy's. And that should be good. So the problem here is I'm going to need to make my hole bigger that goes from inside the dishwasher into under the cabinet there to fit this giant ass thing through. But we'll get it there. The other thing I want to show you is I've put in this plug. I'm not even going to secure it in there. I've got all the excess wire from the dishwasher just run through like this. I'm not showing that process as I am not an electrician, so that magically got done. I don't know how. Now, when I'm putting holes through for the drainage and for the water, I typically like to put the drain through up high and the water through down low. But in this case, I'm following the instructions from the manufacturer, and I need to actually put through a larger hole right here just because I need to get that god-awful looking water supply thing through. So I'm going to be using this. This is about a 2 3/4 inch hole saw. Now, when I'm drilling a hole, I do like to use the dullest drill bit imaginable, but it's for nostalgia. Because why would you cut through the wood when you can just burn through it and smell like you're having a campfire? So let's get on it. I'm going to be careful not to take out the electrical wire. So I'm just going to come through just above. You can see where I started there. Unfortunately, my drill is too sharp. It's very sad. All right, now we're prepped. So I'm gonna pick up the dishwasher, bring it in here, and do a dry run to see if I can get the drain and the water's through that hole that we just made. So first things first, this is supposed to come off of here. So grip it and rip it. Make sure the insulation is lined up adequately. That's going to be garbage. All right, if I can fit this thing through the hole, I'm good to go. I cannot. Second hole. So on my dry run, I was not able to fit this ungodly contraption through the hole, so I have resized the hole a little bit. Let's see if I can get it this time. But hallelujah. And drain hose. And while I'm at it, I'm going to open up the electrical bag here and I'm going to get out the cord. So here's the electrical cord. And this has got a spot right over here. I have not seen this with any other dishwasher provider yet. So this is a first. That's a plate. Make sure we're going in the right way. All right. Okay. You know you've done good if you make easy things look hard. So let's slide the power cord through as well. All right. Dishwasher is going to go in now. There's nothing special about this. I'm sliding it in. And why is this dishwasher so high? So we're actually on day 2. And we ran into a situation yesterday where the dishwasher was higher than our actual pieces running across here. I was thinking that I was going to have to do some major surgery, but it turns out, now that I'm returned to it, there's a screw there, there, and there. If I remove these pieces, the 1/8 of an inch that I need for this to slide in is good to go. So let's do it. Now let's see if this is actually attached with glue or just the screws. Well, there's nails. We can live with that. How about you? And things are good. Now we can continue on with the dishwasher install now that it fits in. All right, so now we're going to try to slide in the dishwasher for a second time and see if she fits good. And it should be fine this time. If the corners fit past, that means we are good. One thing we're going to need to do is pull through on some of these. We can slide some of this back in if we need to after, but we need to get the hose out of the way from back there, and there's no way that you can see that on camera, so we're just going to not do that. There we go. And we're going to keep pushing this back, but we can't go all the way yet. So you can see we're in that far now. But now I need to take these brackets, and I was going to put it on top, but now I don't think there's any wood to attach to there. I'll double check. If there's no wood to attach to right there, I have to attach to the sides. So it turns out Bosch has really thought out their mounting brackets. It's a 2-in-1 bracket. We can either use this on the side or the top, but it only goes in this way. So we're going to click in right here. And this one does the same thing here. If you ever get this dishwasher, you'll be able to see the 2 slots it goes into. Note, every dishwasher is different. Now this will be in the way of the side, so you fold it down 90 degrees. And on this side, we do the same thing, down 90 degrees. Now we can slide this in, and we're aiming for the front line here being flush with the sidewall here, or maybe a little bit further in. We'll see how far we can slide this in. All right, just gonna slide it in as far as we can. I'm not gonna punch it in there because I got hoses in the back. So again, I'm just gonna pull stuff out of the way from the side and see where we're at. So because I had to remove that piece of wood from the top, I do need to side mount this, which is perfectly fine. Now, before I anchor this thing in place with those tabs that I just put on, I need to do some checks here. First of all, I want to check to make sure that this line is as high up as I can go and level. So it looks like I can bring this up about 1/4 inch or so. So I'm going to do that by adjusting the bottom feet. I'll adjust the camera for that. But I should note, if we look here, we'll just make sure that my level's not pooched. I'm showing that my countertop is actually not level and this is the high side. So I have a decision to make here. Either I make this perfectly level or I adjust it so the gap that comes across here is the same. Now, aesthetically, it's probably going to look better if I just adjust it with the gap, so my dishwasher will be slightly out of level from side to side. So I'm going to adjust the 2 feet first. So let's come down over here and adjust the camera. Adjusting the feet is always fun. So in this case, they've actually made a special tool, but we're using the lefty loosey righty tighty rule here. So I'm extending these feet out a little bit. And this wrench is awful. So every now and then I'm going to take a look up top and just see where I'm getting to. So I want to come up a little bit more on this side, and then I'll bring this side up until I'm happy with how that's positioned. And then I'll adjust the back leg, but we'll do one step at a time here. So a little bit more on this side. Okay, that's as high as I want to go on that side. So now I'm going to adjust this one. And when I get closer to the top, I'll readjust the camera so we can see how it looks. But it's just more of the same. I'm going to extend that leg. Now it all comes down to my top line. So right here and now, looks like I need to come slightly up on this side, but not much. So before I go any further here, I can actually put a tape measure on it if I feel like it. I'm not going to be that picky for this because of the way it is. So now I'm going to move to the level front to back. Here's a better angle for this. If I put that up there, you may or may not be able to see the bubble, but I'm leaned too far back that way. So I can adjust the bottom leg up to come that way. For these units, we have a screw, a flat screw, that we can twist here, and that will bring a leg up in the back middle, up or down. Okay, we're coming up. Getting closer. And we're pretty close to bang on, so let's change our angle here. We're like that. For all intents and purposes, that is good enough. So now we will do one more final adjustment. So the dishwasher will have moved around a bit from moving the feet. So now we do this adjustment. So I'm trying to eyeball the front so it's mostly flush, both sides here. Now we're going to try to take a camera angle here. I just pulled the whole thing. Awesome. So now we're actually going to use the door as a lever to move this around a little bit. And this line across the top is going to be our next adjustment. We want to see that as an equal line of space. So I hold it about that far away. So maybe 1/8 of an inch on that side and about 1/4 on that. So I lower this a little bit. And I just give it a little tappy. A little tap, tap, taparoo. And I'm trying to close it up so that gap is mostly even across. Let's give her one more. That's probably too far, because that is the way it works. Definitely too far. So now I lower it and I tap the other side. Now you'll notice there's a concave to the front of the counter. So I just look on either end and we are very close. I can see it's about a 1/16 different. I've got a 1/16 more on this side compared to that side. So I'm gonna just give it, I'm actually gonna just pull this other side back a little bit and boom, that is the same. Now I'm gonna very gently put this down so as to not move it. And now I'm gonna put screws in up there and there. There we go. So the dishwasher is not yet 100%. What I am going to do is recheck with my level. So I bring this back up. I check across the front. I see if I'm happy with that. Right now I'm getting a glare. It's not perfect, but it's very close. So I can actually bring this side up just a hair. So I'm going to do that because why not? There we go. I'm going to recheck level from side to side, or front to back, better yet. Not perfect, but bubbles inside the line. I'm happy with that. And lastly, I'm going to remove the going to check that. And with the screws in, I can still give this one final. It's not going to hurt it. That mounting bracket has a little bit of movement, and now I'm extremely happy with this. All right, final steps. First of all, let's connect the drain portion. Get this going off this way. So this is my drain hose. It is a code requirement that I bring the drain hose up as high as possible in the cabinet before connecting into my drain point connection. I actually have some all-round that's securing the sink here. I'm going to use that as an anchor point. I'm going to just stick it up over there, and that ensures that it never falls down. That's beneficial in two ways. Way number one is it keeps the pipe out of my way. Way number two is I'm meeting the code requirement. The concern here is that waste discharge in the event of a blockage will go up and back into the dishwasher. This doesn't make it impossible, but it makes it less likely because it's got to go so high. With Bosch, it actually comes with this special bushing that I'm supposed to slide over here. I've got a gear clamp, which I'm just going to preemptively slide over. And this will just bottom out like that. We'll bring out the 5/16 nut driver and tighten up this gear clamp right where those, yeah, right where that piece came out. That's it for the drain. Now the water connection. We've actually got a fair bit of movement on this, and I don't need to be this far in the cabinet, so I'm able to slide a bunch of that back in behind. And I said I was going to clean this stuff off, and I never did. So if I can't get that to go, I'm just not going to worry about it. What I don't want is thread tape or pipe dope on this top lip here. That could prevent it from sealing. So it's clean. So now we're going to get in here. I'm going to join it together. Going to bring out our 5/8 nut driver, 5/8 winch, and tighten that on. These are kind of goofy to work with sometimes, so right now I'm holding the braided supply and just twisting the nut. And I go until snug, and then a little bit beyond. You will know if I turn this on and it starts leaking that I have to address something. So I've now turned the water onto this, and I'm going to let that sit for a while. I don't see any signs of immediate leakage, but I'm going to come back to this 5 minutes later and 10 minutes later and check, because I could have a leak there and I could have a leak there. Electrical. Bosch made it easy for us with this plug. I'm literally just going to plug this in and I'm powered. Now I got this excess cord, and if it fits behind the dishwasher, I'll just stick it in behind. Now I could secure that to the back wall if I felt so inclined. I do not feel inclined because I'm having so much fun doing it this way. Now in a typical setup, now that I have water turned on and the drainage connected, I would have to look under here because these where my typical water connections are with most dishwashers except for this one. And I'd be checking here for leaks. Because Bosch has made this integral to the unit, there are no leaks really to be had other than at the connection points, which are all underneath the kitchen sink. And gotta say, I'm a fan. So now what we do is we come up here, and I'm just going to run this through a cycle. I don't really know how to use this one yet because I haven't read. So I'm going to do rinse. And I'm going to let that do a cycle. I have nothing inside there. I made sure everything is out. And what this will do is it'll bring all the air out of the water line, get this thing wet, operate it once, and now I can check for leaks on the floor. Currently the rinse cycle is filling a little bit, rinsing a little bit, and then draining a little bit. As it goes into our drain cycle, you will hear the water running down the drain, but you need to look here to ensure there's no drippage. So far I'm seeing nothing, so I know that this seal is good. And at this point, it's also a good time to check, do we have any drippage out of our valve back here? Out of the valve or back here? So far, that's good. An easy way to tell if you can't see is to touch. Go all the way around the threads and then look at your finger. If your finger is wet, it's leaking. My finger is dry. It is not leaking. So now we need to take these last cover plates and put them on down here. So we've got these holes, which are going to line up with these holes like this. The whole purpose of the bottom plate is to adjust for a varying height that you're going to have depending on how much you adjusted your leveling legs. These holes will line up with these little holes there. So we'll get that secured in place. Let's get some better light and get it going. Once again, this is Bosch, so it's torque screws one more time. So I'm actually going to hold that up with one finger because it will fall down if I don't. And that falls over. So that's designed to fall over. And this goes up in place. And this is the tricky part, actually seeing where that little hole we're supposed to go into is. I've found it there by some miracle. Probably should have had this already pre-stabbed on the end of the screwdriver, but I didn't. So we're just going to do it the hard way because the hard way is the fun way. So did I just make that harder than it is? That is kind of my thing. That's it. So you don't need to go rig tight on that. Just be on snug. Good enough. Now the last part, which may actually be either the most satisfying or frustrating part. This is stainless steel, so we have a blue film on this. That needs to come off. Now, hard part is to get it to start, so I'm just scratching along the edge here. I'm doing it in a spot you can't see it because it guaranteed I'm leaving fingerprints all over this. So the corner has started, and there was much rejoicing. So now the fun game is watching it break apart into a million pieces as you go. That'll help. All right, that's one half done, a little better than a half. Well, that pretty much wraps this one up, and if you made it through all 40 minutes of this video, well, you get 7 plunger points, and guess what they do? Absolutely nothing. Stay tuned for the next video, and you have yourself a super day. What the hell is going on here?